Damian Hall only started running aged 36 but has gone on to break multiple ultramarathon records. He's chalked up victories at the Spine race and also came close to completing the Barkley marathons this year. He's passionate about trying to make running as environmentally friendly as possible and likes to use words like bimble to describe long runs. Welcome to the Runs World podcast with me, Rick Pearson.
And me, Ben Hobson. And our guest today, Damian Hall.
Hi. Excellent intro, that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I went
really,
quite like
real enthusiasm.
Game show on it. Yeah, thanks.
Sort of you're the Don King of running. There's so much to talk to you about, Damien. I was thinking before we got you on, I was like, what do we talk to Damien about? There could be the Barkley, there could be climate activism, there could be DIY haircuts. Here's a DIY haircut, isn't it?
Well, if my wife is watching, she won't be watching. She normally does it.
Okay. Yeah.
But
I like it.
Talking to the Barkley, I was pushed for time before the Barkley, so I did it myself. And people were too polite to say, but afterwards, Nikki Spinks did sort of say, I think your hair's a bit wonky at the back. And it was quite... But normally I've got that, buff on to try and hide my wonky mistakes.
Because you were known as Mohican Guy, weren't you, on the Twitter during the Barkley?
Apparently so. I think, though, there was tall guy with Mohican, so that was confusing because I'm not especially tall. But I was listening to Keith Dunn, who I met. I was pretty starstruck. On another podcast, not as good as this.
Sure.
And he said that they actually called John Kelly Glasses Guy, and John Kelly doesn't wear glasses, but they said we could imagine him wearing glasses, so we'll call him Glasses Guy.
I really like that.
So
it's really good.
So really helpful. Really helpful.
Yeah.
Just a sort of another element to how the Barkley's deeply unhelpful for everyone.
Because I think maybe we'll bring them out. But you bought these amazing things.
I think in terms of like this outshines any race medal.
Yeah, this is these are the
t-shirt.
the pages that you took from the Barkley. And you did 5 laps, didn't you? And then that was
started 5.
Started 5. So this might just look like a kind of
bag of old rubbish.
But this to those in the know, those Barkley fans, this is like amazing memorabilia. So we've got the worst case scenario is on here. That's one of the things, and it's pages really from the Barkley Marathon. Amazing.
A range of books. The titles of the books is the most sort of it's just quite funny.
Oh, one here's Abandon Hope as well.
Yeah. They're all there to kind of taunt you.
One book is 10 Million Steps. Another one.
Poor Support, wasn't it?
Poor Support was another one. It's really I really like it. It's that's the sort of extra effort that I'd like to see go into these things.
It sort of mocks you as you go along.
Like on the Barkley, because it's chatted about so regularly, and the invite to get there is sort of never assured, and all these sorts of things. And your write-up about post-race was quite illuminating in terms of like what you go through. Was it everything you imagined?
Ooh, I guess yes, I suppose. But it was more. It was kind of more enjoyable. Maybe you're not meant to say that. But, we did have great weather. It was very cold, but no rain, no fog. That's what people fear the most. It was great weather, and a lot of the briars had been cut. Apparently, at certain times of the year, they may cut the briars on a certain hill. So that was a slight relief. So there were a couple of things going for us, but it was more enjoyable, more of an adventure than I thought, and also. I might get cancelled from any future years for saying this, but I wondered if it would be a bit cultish and a bit cliquey, but I actually was very welcoming, and we were made to feel at home, and I loved it. Actually, I loved it. I suppose I didn't love it 2 days in where I couldn't find a book in the woods, but till then I was loving it. Yeah,
I think it was sort of when you sort of were basically found asleep, when you sort of like you said, "Oh, I'm done. This is it. I'm going to head back now," and everyone went, "Oh, okay, for a good effort," and then you just sort of, without knowing it, just passed out.
Pretty much, I think it was because I'd let the adrenaline go because I was no longer looking. There was no point, and it was a lovely warm day, and I just thought, well, I could just sleep here. And then Jasmine Paris came running down the track and woke me up. And the thing was, I'd sort of quit because I couldn't find that most recent book. Yeah. And the first thing I said to her was, "Did you find the book?" And she was like, "Yeah." So there's maybe a male-female stereotype there that it certainly replays in our house about
where is it? Can I find it?
Their car keys, the wallet. The woman can find it straight away, and I don't need to explain it. But that was both That was a strange moment because I was thrilled for her. I ran in with her sort of for about an hour. I was thrilled for her, although she was a bit disappointed too. She hadn't done what she had hoped to do. But yeah, very surreal finishing, getting taps played on the bugle and sort of being both proud and ashamed at the same time.
Right, yeah.
Which is...
I always think that the bugle playing kind of would be a proud moment. I mean, because I know it's not deemed as in the grand scheme of the event, but still just getting there and being played out, I think is still quite a moment, isn't it?
Getting the bugle played at you, yeah. And it for those who don't know, it's their sort of, I remember at Sunday, the bugle.
Yeah, true. The
so
tones are different.
Yeah, but it's powerful over there. It's a powerful song. They all take their hats off and hold their hearts and stuff, and you kind of it's quite serious. And I thought people would laugh at me and stuff, but no, everyone was quite serious.
Serious.
Do you think do you think you'll be back? Do you think I know, because obviously you had a romance with the UTMB, did really well there. Do you think this is the next one for you? The Barkley could be the next kind of obsession.
Well, one of the problems with the Barclay, you're not exactly sure what you're allowed to talk about. I know there are 3 things that I definitely shouldn't share about it, and then there's a whole grey area after that about how much I should talk about it. Okay. You don't really know. You're not given a list of rules. There's an assumption that you don't. But yes, I'm keen. Yeah, let's go back. I'm keen as long as that hasn't.
Go back.
I would like to go back. I don't know yet. Whether I'll get back in, and even when I do know, I'm not meant to tell people.
Yeah.
So, but I'm keen because it was quite tantalising. I mean, I still had another loop to do, but it seemed possible in my sleep-deprived head. It seemed possible.
So Barkley aside, how do you now choose what you want to do? How is your sort of like shift and focus to racing change? Because is there now? Do you want to look at these bigger things like the bigger FKTs? What's kind of like stoking your fire in terms of getting out there?
Well, I was already keen to go back to Tour de Géant in September, which in a way is similar in that you'll be out there for 3 or 4 days. You'll just be extremely tired, going in a beautiful place where you don't really appreciate it because you're too tired, battling sleep deprivation. So I'm doing that anyway, but it is sort of complementary. But actually, what I've started doing is I'm probably not well known for my navigation skills, and so I'd like to fine-tune them or improve on them. So I've done a mountain leader training course. I'm doing the OM later this year, the sort of navigation race in Snowdonia. I'm doing orienteering races. There's a local, I didn't know about this, but there's a winter sort of night league.
Yeah, right, okay, yeah.
So you go running around. I did one last year, but I should have done more. And you go running around in, say, the Forest of Dean in the woods, not looking for pages, but looking for sort of controls. So I'm really focusing on orienteering. And then I'm doing the tour, which again is sort of practicing being out for 3 days. And then I'll do the spine again as well, which again is just, being very tired and carrying on and aging dramatically. Just speeding up the aging process, basically, all of this. Yeah, I'm only 23, actually.
So you're dressed in a very natty green top with the green runners on it. Can you tell us a little bit about the green runners? Also, you've got your latest book, We Can't Run Away From This.
Yes, it doesn't fit well with that flight I just took to America, does it? I guess a few years ago I noticed the Extinction Rebellion protests in London in 2019 and kind of thought, well, they think this stuff's really urgent. And looked into it, and it did seem more urgent than the government and even the media seemed to be saying. And at the same time, I had friends down in Charlotte at Rerun Clothing. They were talking about the T-shirt and trainer waste in the industry. And that suddenly made me realise, running's part of the problem, actually. And then I was urged, and I guess I was thinking of myself as an athlete, what could I do better? And I was flying to 3 races a year, and when I got new kit, I would put it on Instagram and go, hey, everyone, look at this. And I guess over time, I realised those weren't helpful. Those weren't helpful. I was urged by, I'd had one book published, I was urged by Vertebrate Publishing to sort of think about turning this into a book, almost like how can you be a greener runner, a better, more environmentally friendly runner. At the same time, I was chatting to other runners who cared about this, and we sort of launched the Green Runners just over a year ago, and we got nearly 1,000 members around the world, which is thrilling, actually, because I guess most of us, I don't know what people expected from it, but I didn't expect that many people to pay attention. I guess one of our things we're trying to say is, you don't have to be perfect, because perfect's impossible, really. Like everything will have a footprint. So, but could you make a pledge to improve in some aspect?
Yeah.
And for a runner, it's going to be your travel, your kit, and probably your fueling, really. Like, as in animal products, you do harm the environment more. So those are the three things to think about. And yeah, we're not saying you can't fly ever again, you can't have a beef burger ever again. We're just saying think about if could you improve. And then the fourth pillar, I think, is the most important, which is speaking out really and nudging for system change, that sort of thing. Like I'm doing, like I'm waffling on now, I suppose. Yeah.
Do you find that that's a sort of great power within running, though, that for change? As in, it's very easy to sort of like ask people to make a difference, but you can kind of get easily switched off by the rhetoric around a lot of these things. Whereas I think if you sort of connect it with running and how people can, enjoy their running still, but actually just make different little changes to make a big difference. Is that sort of something that you want to put the message out even more and use your running to sort of push that forward?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, another way to think of it is climate breakdowns already affecting running. Like races are being, I've been on the way to a race. It's been cancelled because of a storm, and scientists have said that storm was 9 or 10 times more likely to have happened because of climate change. The recent fires in Canada, the study said 5 times more likely to happen. The Olympic marathon's being moved around, and Seb Coe said recently he doesn't even, it was an off-the-cuff comment, but he said he doesn't know whether the marathon will be in future Olympics. I mean, that's shocking.
It's major, isn't it?
So it's affecting running, and then running is part of the problem because of the travel, the kit. But in some ways, it can save you money as well. Do we need to buy that new shoe right now? Could we wait 6 months? And one of the big myths that's frustrating actually is that some of these brands are saying, you need to get rid of your shoes every 300 miles, and me and lots of us are showing that's not the case at all. You can get, it depends on the person, depends on the terrain, but you can get a lot more out of them. The shoes are a problem. Well, often the waste, afterlife waste is a problem. So I think people can save money, feel a bit better about the running, but it's not. It's not some sort of cultish closed society where you have to be vegan, have to be as annoying as me, that sort of thing. Yeah,
I think it's important that some of us are annoying. Right?
Well, I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best to be annoying. Yeah.
Would you say out of those pillars is travel, like if you were going to say the thing that's going to make the biggest difference would be trying to reduce international travel to races, or is it?
That is, yes, in most cases that is most likely to be, depending. So flying is the sort of Well, in fact, Mike Berners-Lee's professor at Lancaster University, who wrote "How Bad Are Bananas," which is a great place to start. He said sort of flying is the most carbon intense thing any individual can do. I've done a flight recently, so it's clear I'm not saying we should all stop flying, although some people do say that. But it's more about when I pick a race now, I think, do I really want to do that race? How important is it to me, really? And I have considered other races and thought, actually, I just don't care enough. Like, it's not worth it to me. So it's up to individuals to make their choice. And then it's kind of like, could I travel there better? So for Tour de Gion, I'm going to be getting trains and buses. I've been researching that last night, actually.
Yeah. You're the man in seat 61 or whatever it's called.
There's that one, and there's another one. Rome to Rio is a good one.
Rome to Rio, that's one. Yeah.
But I wasted too much time last night trying to book a bus in the Italian Alps. I couldn't find the right website. My Italian's not up to scratch, but it can. It's not always easy. It's not always cheap. I'll be honest. So, but in most cases, travel will be so. Don't want to get on the high horse, but I would say things like the Abbott marathon majors and stuff. They're a bit out of sync really with what's going on in the world. Encouraging people to. I don't think anyone's saying you can never fly again to a race, but. Or even the UTMB World Series as well, that the idea that you might need to fly 2 or 3 times a year to be part of something.
And also the structure around those sort of UTMB stuff is particular. It's like you've got to qualify somewhere, and then there's the main event, and there's a lot.
Yeah. So at the moment for that one, for example, there's only one race in the UK you can do, and I don't know if you can't do that one, if you can't get in or whatever, then what do you do? Now, I would say the next thing to think about is, can you get there better? So can you get there trains and buses? As I say, not everyone can do that. And then the third thing is, all right, if you have to do those things, just try and make more of it. Can you stay longer? Can you visit a friend or visit a family member or get any work out of it? That is seen, by scientists as a
legitimate way of doing
it. Yeah.
God, what's one of the worst one must be that remember the 7 marathons in 7 continents? That's got to be stopped, hasn't it? And whenever that comes to the press, I'm like, that's not an achievement. That's really bad. Just stop doing that. It must cost loads of money.
But I think that's a. I mean, that in itself is a healthy mind shift, isn't it? Because that's even that is a considered. I would say more of a considered. Certainly personally, I wouldn't have really thought that was ultimately would I have gone? That's a good thing or a bad thing? And now obviously the mindset has changed a bit where you can kind of go, that is quite bad.
That's really bad. Yeah.
Also, I'm just a huge fan of just exploring locally.
Yeah, me too.
More and more. I think that was another sort of knockback of a byproduct of lockdown was that you were kind of restricted to where you could go anyway. And you suddenly went, I mean, I'm very fortunate that I have nice places to run, forests and that near my house. So I was like, this is nice, and just went and ran places that I've not run before and went, I don't need to go anywhere else. This is quite good. I mean, it's not a lot of big hills or anything.
Sure.
If I wanted a mountain, I'd be hard pushed. But beyond that,
lots of stuff on your front door. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Question for you. So Runners World's turning 30 in September, and we've got a list of 30 game changers in running. And I wondered, is there somebody who would make your list? You think of a running game changer. Who would be on your list?
Oh, blimey. So it has to be an athlete. There has to
No,
be,
it doesn't have to be an athlete. No.
We've got so to give you context, the list has got the founders of Strava.
Okay.
Because, the impact that Strava has had on running, good or bad, still game changing. We've got sort of tech innovators.
Paul Sinton Hewitt, Park Run, that sort of stuff.
So it can be anyone who sort of, the impact on running has been considerable, but it's not just Lympha Christie or, someone, or it could be. Maybe it is.
Well, I've got a few in my head, but
okay, that's all right. You can give us a top 3 if you want.
Okay. Well, I loved Richard Asquith's book on Zapotec.
Mm-hmm.
And has anyone nominated him yet?
We haven't done Zapotec only because he is over the last 30 years. He hasn't done anything.
Good point. Right. Yeah. History fail there. Okay. Well, is it? Yeah. Try not to. Well, I do think Dan and Charlotte are rerun clothing for sort of, I guess, sounding the alarm on t-shirt waste in the industry. That's not a very, it's not a very exciting, happy answer. But also, I don't know if Jasmine Paris winning the spine race. That was very, very cool. I'll go with those two for now.
I think that's good. Jasmine Paris definitely changed the game in terms of what people felt women were capable of in ultras. Particularly, she was breastfeeding at the time, wasn't she? So it's kind of
I know at least 2 baby girls who named Jasmine after her.
Amazing.
And certainly, I know people who are very influenced by that. So, I mean, that was pretty cool.
That's cool. That's cool.
I think we should discuss how you're now part of the Runners World team. Sorry about that.
I get loads of perks, right? I get, what do I get? Okay.
So you have a column now in the magazine.
Yeah.
Straight off the back, I think probably emailed you within about 48 hours of the Barclay. So you obviously were delusional post-race when you agreed. How's that sort of cathartic writing experience? I assume it's cathartic.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's I'd almost given up words.
Yeah.
Because I've had such a demand for sort of coaching. I was a journalist for 20 years. Rick charitably gave me ample work through that time. And I'd sort of given up because, people wanted me to coach them. But it was incredibly flattering offer. I'm sure you're reconsidering it now after.
The first few submissions, the editing so far has been. No.
I think the third one was a tiny bit late, wasn't it? But only a few days. But get used to that.
Well, actually, it was interesting because I think this is a bit of a spoiler alert for people, but it's about getting older, and you've had to accept that maybe your fastest days are behind you. That must be an interesting shift in terms of maybe you're not going to run a quicker marathon than you've already run. Is that hard to kind of get your head around?
I think it's taken me about 2 years to go.
Okay.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, I think I was in denial for a bit, and also I realised I used to do lots of local races, 10Ks and half marathon type races, and I'd often be pretty competitive at them. And I realised I'm just not really signing up. I'm not really looking for them anymore.
Yeah.
And certainly I've not done many park runs. I've done 2 or 3, but it's been a long time since I've done one.
Yeah.
And I realise I don't necessarily want a really explicit,
Right.
Strava-based reminder of you're not as quick as you were.
Yeah.
I don't really want one. I already get it once a week in my intervals, I think, really. There's a slight sense of, I don't know, I'm 47, and I guess I was well into my 40s, and I was still thinking, well, I'm not getting any slower. This is all right. I'm somehow defying age, and now, much as my increasingly large and shiny forehead is giving away the fact that I'm getting there. But what's incredible about running is you do see so many inspiring older athletes, and then in ultra running, we're all old anyway. Your top speed doesn't. All right, it does affect your overall fitness and economy, but when you run 200 miles, your top speed isn't that relevant. So, or when you go looking for books in the woods. I think that is one of the wonderful things about running. I think I said in the column, if I always wanted to be a footballer when I was a kid, and by 32, really you're done. 33, right. you're past it. And I didn't discover running till sort of 36. So running's quite good.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
amazing.
guys.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Running's cool.
Do you think that isn't not necessarily that you are getting slower, but just that you can elaborate in your training, but have you not just switched your body to behave in a certain way because you are doing these things that are multiple days? You say the top speed is not your main goal. If you stopped doing the ultra training and actually went down to proper brass tacks speed work just to build, do you reckon you could?
It's a fascinating idea because I also realised at the same time I've not just got into 100-mile races. I've ended up doing 200-mile races, and they can't be speeding you up those things. And they're often going 2 or 3 nights with almost no sleep. That can't be that good for you. So I wonder if I've possibly accelerated things a little bit. It'd be intriguing, but I would miss a long run. I was asked recently what's my favourite run of the week, and it would be the long run, the Bimble.
How long is that long run for you?
Oh, it doesn't need to be crazy. Quite often it's 14, 16 miles.
Okay.
That said, I've got another race coming up before Tour de Gion. I am off to Snowdonia tomorrow in an EV to run 25. It'll be about 25 miles. So occasionally you need the big ones, but a lot of them are well under 20. It's not 20 every week at all. That's I think that'll just make me even slower.
Interesting.
Even sooner.
Interesting.
Are you not your mileage isn't astronomical at the end of each week?
So on average, I'd say it's in the kind of 65 to 75 miles on an average week. And then you, leading up to a big race, you get into that kind of specific block. And usually there's vert involved, but that will be more volume there. So I might reach 100 miles, but that'd be quite rare. I'd say I'd reach 100 miles outside of races 2 or 3 times a year. So usually it's I'd say 70 miles on average probably throughout the year.
I've been putting this idea forward to the team that 200 miles is a new 100 miles.
It is.
It's a new frontier, isn't it? And it's people like yourself have put 200 mile plus races kind of on people's radar. Is it markedly different to a 100 miler? Is it more like going on a kind of terrible holiday, or is it just the same thing of 100 miles? It's sort of
what's kind of the same thing. What is the tipping point distance wise where you've just gone? Well, I'm in it now, and it's not going to get. It's because there's you've done 100. I've never gotten near it, but
well, you can do 100 in one kind of great effort. There's no sleep has to be involved.
Yeah,
maybe it's inside 24 hours. Whereas what you're doing, it's impossible to run. Unless you're Dean Carnazes, of course, that kind of distance in one go. So I think it must be a bit of a different way of looking at things. Yeah,
so the big difference happens is basically I find, and I think a lot of athletes find, running through one night, it's not no problem, but it's okay. It's reasonably straightforward. You get a bit weary, but you can push on. When there's a second night, and I think every 200-mile race would have a second night, that's when things start going, pretty wonky.
Like mentally.
Yeah. And you will need, almost everyone will need some kind of sleep in that second night period, whether it's before or at the end or in the middle, and that's part of the puzzle to me. And the Barclays is it's not a 200 mile, but it's a 200 mile time wise because it'll be close to 60 hours. So what I'm fascinated in at the moment, and the Spine race and Tour de Gion, they're all 200 mile races. They're going to go probably into a third or maybe even fourth day. It's the puzzle of how do you control the sleep deprivation. They call it the sleep monsters, and they do jump on your back and go right down. Time to sleep. And you try and fight back, but sometimes giving in is smarter. But I don't know. Like when I've got
It's not like doing a gel, right? Like because you can. Do you know what I mean? Like, but when you get to the training, everyone's like, every 35 minutes you need to, at this effort you can have and you go, that's your body, you're functioning. But it's not like a prescribed sleep kind of thing. It must fluctuate in how the race has gone so far and the amount of effort that's gone through. And you must have there must be actually I'm losing the plot, I must lie down kind of moment rather than anything else.
Yeah, hallucinations come along, and at Barclay I was getting almost like, I don't know what the word is, audio hallucinations, like
just hearing.
sound. Yeah, not many visual ones, but I was hearing people talking all the time. I was like, oh right, great, some people are coming. No one's coming. And also at the Tour de Géant last year, and I'm talking about these as if they're fun, but
no, it doesn't sound great.
They're just annoying, really. At the Tour de Géant last year, I got these. I had this permanent deja vu.
Oh, right.
Which is horrible. So all the time I was thinking, I was here before. It was horrible before as well. And I'd never been there. And I kept saying, I was having these conversations with myself. When was I here? You know that? No. Have you been? I spent 2 days just arguing with myself about whether I'd seen this particular place. So you can see the appeal, right? Like, why wouldn't you want to do that? Yeah. So I guess it's a big puzzle for me of how do you control that sleep deprivation? How do you manage it the best? Yeah. That's quite intriguing to me. Yeah. Nutrition, caffeine, power naps, it all. It's a puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle. I'm quite intrigued by it. I'm probably massively accelerating my aging, as I say, and any intelligence I have left. But it's all
slowly eroding.
What about the plus sides? In terms, we talked to someone who wrote a book about the Barclay, and he said that training for the Barclay made him a better person because he'd have to tell himself stuff like, well, if I can't put the rubbish out, how on earth am I going to do the Barclay if I can't put the rubbish out or change the dishes or whatever? So it was this kind of thing that was in the back of his mind, and he felt like it made him become the best version of himself because he felt like he would have to be the best version of himself to have a chance of getting anywhere near the Barclay. Has it had a nice knock-on effect for you? Do you feel like you're a more resilient, more positive person? I feel like you're a very optimistic person anyway, but...
Yeah, that might be another one to ask my wife. I like to think, I'm definitely a better person for this, but, come 4 or 5 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon, I might not be the sunniest, cheeriest, most tolerant and patient person in the household.
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I like to think I'm a better person, but there are certain times where, you're tired. I suppose.
Right, okay. Yeah.
It's that, and you need more cake than for other people. So
How do you? How do you strike a balance then in terms of that sort of like life running training thing? Because that's just the main juggle that everyone kind of really has. Yeah. And I feel like if you're with your coaching alongside it and sort of generally existing, it must be quite. If you're building up to something mega, it's kind of what. How do you manage that?
I would say again, it probably is the closest people to you and how are they responding to you, or have they given up on you? And you look for I suppose you look at your kids as well, and I don't know if my younger son is a lot more vocal about, you're going away again, Daddy, sort of thing. And when that happens, it is kind of like, sorry. Have I got have I done this? Have I got the balance right? Or they just show hey, can I tell you about my run? They're never interested in your run, are they? But it's probably family and people closest to you.
Yeah.
I don't always get it right. But I guess what I try and do is after a race, well, you're knackered anyway, and you don't need to run for a week or so anyway. So that's a really good time to, spend time with family and that sort of thing. But who knows if we really get it right? Yeah,
but I mean, it's part and parcel of who you are. It's very difficult. There's a sort of a trade-off between existing as your own individual person and doing the things that make you yourself, and then the family life and sort of the meeting point in the middle. And I think that's certainly lots of parents and new parents have really, that I've spoken to, and being a new parent, have gone through that process of going,
definitely,
right, well, there was me before and then there's me afterwards, and there's the things that I like doing, and actually I can forget about those things I did before. I'm not bothered about the pub anymore, or the sort of but I have to have those.
But the running's
still going to stay, and there's, I think it's it's an adjustment.
That is almost exactly what happened to me, and that I was discovering running around the same time as becoming a parent, and when life settles down a bit and you get those options back, the choice between going for a run or meeting people in a pub, I went for a run instead, and realised that wasn't as appealing. And yeah, I'm still pondering your question. I do think I'm a better person for it. I mean,
We'll do a poll.
healthier.
We'll do a poll. We'll do a Twitter poll. Is Damien a better person as a result of running?
I mean, this is maybe you're self-convinced, but I certainly think that like I'm installing a sense of what's good for you, or certainly a sense of being active is a positive. Looking after yourself is a positive. Do you know, you hope that you're installing in your kids like a sense of just like, oh, daddy's going for a run again. I wonder why he keeps doing that. Maybe, you know, and all those sorts of things.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's a healthy behaviour, isn't it? I think you're not kind of going down Ladbrokes again.
Yes, that's true.
So I think it's as hobbies go, I think it's good. Can we quickly talk to you about your new initiative as well? Trying to get more people into ultra running. Ultra running, like a lot of recreational running, probably isn't as diverse as it should be. And it's called Into Ultra, isn't it?
Yes. We were debating the name, and you might enjoy the debate of whether we went into as one word or into ultra. We had a big debate on that. Sub-editors would love that. I must admit, I've got a lot of credit for this one. Really, it was someone else who approached me, an ultra runner I knew a little bit, and he said, I've been lucky in life, I've got a little bit spare cash, I want to do some good in running, in ultra running. You know, and we brainstormed some ideas, and we both really felt strongly that on the start lines of a lot of ultras, we look around and everyone looks a bit like us, you know, sort of white, male, middle class, middle age, and, you know, well, I was going to say quite ugly, but that seems rude now. Now there are cameras, and I'm quite ugly. But yeah, and we've seen two other great initiatives, She Races, which is sort of working on gender equality, and Black Trail Runners launched as well, who've done great things. And we thought, well, they're doing great things already, but maybe there's just simply an accessibility angle of the affordability of this stuff. And when some of the race, you know, some races are quite affordable, and of course you can just, like you said earlier, you can just hit the hills and try and do a Bob Graham or something. Although, you know, it's quite a lot of travel for some people. But there's a fund there that will make, you know, some race entries free or free to some runners. The next probably thing is kit, and ultra marathons do often have, you know, you need to carry these 10, 20, the spine race is 31 items you have to carry. You know, that's a lot. So we
and then also
there's
it's
a
like highly
there.
technical kit, isn't it?
And
like
you might not know if you're new to it,
well,
do I buy that one or that one? So, and what's been amazing, so so far we've taken on 20 people, but what's been amazing is we've got over 70 brands and coaches and people just getting in touch saying, we want to support this, what can we do? So it's been kind of overwhelming, like really, really pleasing. And yeah, we're working with 20 people so far. It's still, you know, if anyone sees this, thinks it might apply to them, or better still thinks, have a friend who it might apply to, because our concern is that we're making a noise, hopefully within ultra running and running, but there's probably people even further out that you know could do. And for me and this other guy in the small group, I think the 6 of us now, you know, ultra run has been life changing, like this wonderful, wonderful thing that we discovered, and we just feel like it could, you know, bring this happiness and sleep deprivation and hallucinations and accelerated aging to the
masses. Spread it around. Oh, that's great. Is there a website, or how do people find about it?
I think it's just intoultra.org. I'm pretty sure. I should definitely know that, shouldn't I?
We'll put it in the link. Link in bio. Blah blah blah.
Thank you. But applications are still open, and then I think we'd probably evaluate at the end of the year, and we'll open again sort of next year.
Great.
So. Yeah, hopefully we can do a bit of good, but we want to reach out to people, so get in touch, please. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, thank you so much for your time coming on the Runners World podcast, talking about the Barkley, sleep deprivation, hallucinations. So much to talk about, and we could talk about a lot more, but really appreciate your time coming on.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of this week's Runners World podcast. A huge thanks to our guest, Damian Hall, and to you, of course, for tuning in. You have to say anything, do you?
I don't. I just sit here.
Okay, great. so slick, though.
Much like every other time.